Hey Josh, you want to see a magic trick?
Sure.
Alakazam.
What was that?
Watch. See it again? Okay. See? That wasn't so bad, no, was it?
Please don't do that to me. I feel violated.
Alright.
That was against my will.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Trident set. Alright. So, part 2 of the Trident stat for January of 2021. We're gonna talk about the second most demanded information, and that's gonna be condos and townhouses. So, without further ado, Mr. Killian, if you'd like to take us away, starting from the top.
Absolutely. So, of course, on average, what we're going to see as we're kind of tackling these is going to be an increase all around in list price as well as sales price, because like you'll see later, townhomes and condos are just as much in demand, if not in some aspects more so than residential homes, like we'll see. So you're going to find that we're going to have average days on market's going to be lower. You're going to find the average listings is going to be lower, which makes the demand increase more. So you're going to have the sales price again driving through the roof.
Mm-hmm. And that's just crazy. I mean, that's all around what you're seeing. And it's a lower amount of inventory, which just leads to a higher amount of demand. It's, again, your basic economics that are proving to be, well, just blatantly obvious at this point. With this feels like a textbook example of what you would get out of an economics class, for crying out loud. I mean, you're looking at the number of sales being up for townhomes specifically, and for condos and townhomes, up almost 27% from 2020 to 2021, going from 52 to 66. It's just an insane amount. With newer listings, just again, new listings and inventory being the only numbers that are down, which lead to everything else being up. You're looking at almost an 8% drop from 2020 into 2021, from 76 to 70. Only 70, for crying out loud. Over the course of 30 days, that's only 70. That's 2 a day, maybe, okay? It's insane. And then, of course, the third most important one that falls under that is your average days on market dropping from 27 to 23, down 15%, for crying out loud.
Just 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks. So you go from roughly being listed on average a month, in your condo, to a year later down to 3 weeks. So you're putting your house on the market and you're exchanging keys at the closing table within 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. It's just absolutely ludicrous.
Literally, within almost the same pay period. almost. Like, if you're bi-weekly, you get one check, and almost by the next check, your place is sold. Yeah. If you're selling,
that's what's crazy about it. You try to put it in a retrospect, and that's a fantastic way of putting it. Under 2 pay periods, for crying out loud. I mean, I don't have a transition. It's just I'm befuddled by the numbers, honestly.
It's crazy.
And you continue on. I mean, again, we're going to continue with sale prices and list price ratios. You're looking at the median sale price being up over 2%, whereas the average sale price is up over 10%, for crying out loud. In a year.
Same thing with the same statistics, how it's laid out, just like we did the residential properties. Looking at the sales price, we'll look at some of the line graphs here later on. Same thing. Same increase in sales, well, not the same increase in sales price, but a positive increase in the sales price from going from condos, from residentials to condos. It's crazy to see that there's that much of an increase in 365 days. Yeah. Like when you were talking in the last episode, so if you tuned in last week, you would have seen that the residential properties, link right here somewhere on the screen, you would have seen that we talked a little bit about the average price being 2-3% appreciation, mm-hmm. and it going to 15.5% for residentials. Mm-hmm. So it's in 1 year, this going 10% is almost, as ludicrous, more so even than the residentials that they were a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking at over 3 times, over 3 years in profit in less than a year. Well, actually, in a year, to be specific. So a third of the time. It's not to the extent of, in half a decade in 1 year, but still, the numbers are through the roof. Pun intended, with it being a house, okay?
Seriously. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then you're looking at list pricing, the median list price is at 3.45%, whereas the average list pricing being at over 8%, for crying out loud, increase. So, again, it's just ludicrous increases that are a result of your lower inventory, and it's not even a matter of there being more buyers, which, I mean, there are more buyers generally speaking, but it's just less inventory makes it, appear like there are more buyers, And I mean, with lower interest rates, more people are interested in buying. So
especially, and like when we're going to look at later as well, just the average price of the townhome, with there being a lower interest rate, you're being able to buy more condo, more townhome. So those maybe higher up townhomes or condos that you maybe weren't within your market price or your budget that you were looking for are now more affordable to you. If you're a buyer.
Exactly, and that's what's crazy about it. So moving on to the next thing, the just nitty gritty numbers that that's getting your hands in the dirt and actually looking at it. New listings, we talked about it. In January of 2020, you're looking at 76 new listings, whereas this year you're only seeing 70. That's 6 less. That's a full almost 8% drop in new inventory, for crying out loud. Whereas, we could talk about sold listings going from 52 to 66. That's 27% more townhomes being sold this month than they were last month.
With less on inventory. The market. I was going to say with less. So not only is there just less being listed, but there was more being bought. So that makes what is listed even more dwindled, like even more like almost rare in an aspect. At
this point, rare is an excellent word to describe it. I mean, for crying out loud. And then, God, I don't even know where to go from this. You can talk about the median days on the market. We can talk about the average selling price. It's just the same trend all around. Like everyone's favorite number, the average selling price. In January of 2020, you were looking at $140,954. So just about at that $141,000. In 1 year, you have increased 10.23%. $14,000 more to $155,373. In 1 year, if you had bought a townhome last year, on average, $140,000, selling it today, $155,373. And you know what? You would get exactly what you asked for on average, because the list to sell ratio is at a perfect 100% on average.
So just like the residential homes, so the ranches, the multi-levels, with it being 100.4%. It doesn't matter if you're selling a condo, if you're listing your condo, it doesn't matter if you're listing your townhome, you're listing your ranch style house, your whatever it is, you're going to get roughly on average what you're putting on the market, if not more.
Exactly. And it works both ways. These are average numbers. You're going to see outliers in both directions. You're going to see something go below, and you're certainly going to see something go above. I can't tell you how many townhomes. I'm working with a number of clients that are looking for townhomes. I don't want to say your standard, but your average townhome in St. Charles County that I have seen consistently go above list, and it's just ludicrous. So, and I mean, again, I'm speechless. There's just so much, but it's just so crazy.
Well, that's what happens when you have such a small niche pool of rare property, but you have demand so high for it. You're going to have people that, the sellers, in the aspect of them selling their house, wouldn't even consider, an offer possibly that's under what would be list price. So when you have 10, 11, 12, a dozen people bidding on a property, it's like they need to start at the list price and then just continue to go higher, because they're not even going to be able to stand a chance in such an aggressive buyer's market.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was working with a client the other day who we were looking at a townhome. I think it was like $170,000, right? And we were writing an offer on it. And as I'm in the process of writing an at-list price offer, now granted we had a couple things that we tweaked, but at-list price, I'm sitting there typing it, and I'm on the phone with my client. I get a call from the listing agent, and he tells me they're not accepting offers that are not at least $15,000 above what they listed it at. Are you kidding me?
Which, if you look at the statistics, $15,000 is exactly what the
trend shows.
Exactly, I was gonna say it's exactly what the profit would be from going from $140,000 to you're listing it now at $155,000. So
it's just ludicrous. It's it's the market we're in. It's so
that is crazy.
If you're looking for a time to sell, now's the time. But again, this is I don't want to say double-edged sword, because that implies a negative. This is quite a positive market to be on either side on.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because we're sitting here talking about all these big numbers and increase in price and lower days on market, but we haven't addressed the current interest rates. Okay?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, right now it seems a lot like, oh, this is great if you're a seller. No, if you're a seller, this is good. If you're a seller, this is good. Well, like, okay, well, where's the buyers at? Well, this is why we're making the statistic show, is so that you can see both sides of the sword, and you can see exactly how that plays into you, because you might own a property right now that you want to sell, and right now you might be looking for one, and you're like, man, why is this market so difficult? This is why we're tackling it. Because like you said, with the interest rates, not only is or sellers getting more out of the property, which is great for them. You might think, well, then that means the buyers are taking a heavy hit, exactly, a fall. No, they're actually being able to afford more with lower interest rates.
Exactly. I mean, heck, even if you have, a 3% interest rate, a 4% interest rate even, for crying out loud,
that's still less than what it was like a decade ago.
Exactly. You're comparing that to
like 7-8%.
7-8, in some cases upwards of a 10%. I mean, you go back to 2008 or heck, a couple of decades ago, you were lucky to get a 15% interest rate for crying out loud. Who is texting me right now? Anyway, so again, just factors you gotta consider. The same house that you can get at a 15% interest rate compared to a 3% interest rate, that's, tens of thousands of dollars in difference in home value. And the same thing applies here. And you look at these margins with a 7% to a 3% difference. Tens of thousands of dollars in difference for a home that you can buy, or townhome, for crying out loud. So this isn't a situation where it's the buyers taking the complete fall on the sword. Both sides, this is a win-win situation at the end of the day. It's an excellent time to be in the real estate market, and I mean,
if you're not in it,
you're missing out.
You're doing something wrong.
Yes.
Like, we cannot stress it enough.
Precisely.
Like, we're trying to help. We're trying to help you so much. Like, whatever you can do, you want to gather. If you're doing this to buy your own home, great. You're going to lock in probably
fantastic
one of your dream homes.
rate.
I was gonna say a fantastic interest rate. You're gonna be able to buy more home than you originally thought. So maybe you went from a 2-bed 1-bath that you're like, that's within my budget to afford. Well, now with your lower interest rate, your budget increased by $50,000. You can afford an extra room, an extra bathroom. You can afford maybe a bigger yard, something like that for your dog if you're planning on having kids, something like that. If you're doing this from like an investor's perspective, it's like we said in the last video. It's just dubs all around. You want to lock in as much. You do. You want to
dubs all around, boys.
You do. You want to have as much property in your hands as possible right now, because not only like were we covering this in last week's episode. Sorry, I'm getting really passionate and excited.
It's good.
Because it's crazy.
It's exciting.
It's a month ago we were still talking about these numbers and how even in December of last year we were going over the yearly wrap up. That yearly wrap up video. So if you haven't seen that,
Link
go
right
check
here.
that out. But we're still seeing a ripple of those successes of those interest rates being low, but the selling prices and the selling points being high. You want to lock in and have as much property in your hands right now because it's at a 50-year, I want to say like all-time, how do I word this? All-time low, but that being good, 50-year all-time high for real estate being good.
Exactly.
Because of the low interest rates, the low days on market. So you want to get as much as possible because it's near free money that you're getting when you have an interest rate that low. It's just free money. You can never have enough free money, pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. You talk about banks and lenders they're businesses at the end of the day. They make profits based upon, the interest rates and things that they provide. But at the end of the day, with interest rates this low, it's a situation where lending institutions are making so little money because of how much free money they're giving out.
Yeah, and it's all in an aid to get money circulating back into the economy. Because I know with the pandemic, and all this is a result of the economy. It's not just the pandemic. It's not just the presidential election. It's a result of a little bit and pieces of all of that that have accumulated at like the same time.
Exactly.
Like, go figure, the pandemic happens like right within the year of the presidential election, and election years already, people get a little bit uncertain. Yeah, we've covered this a little bit of why you don't need to be. If you have like a strict budget and stuff like that, you can stick to those. But we've also talked a little bit of how presidential elections do affect the market, if indeed they do. So you definitely want to go check that video out as well.
Link here.
Links everywhere, man.
Yeah.
We're going to be putting them everywhere. But it's just, it's a accumulation of a lot of little things that have left people uncertain, and so not a lot of people are, going out and spending as much as they did. Not a lot of people are going out and maybe putting as much money into the bank because they'd rather hold on to it because they know that it's safe with them. And so without that money circulating, you have lower interest rates to attempt to get people to come back into the market. Like, hey, it's okay to spend your money, get it circulating, get the blood flowing through the United States.
The U.S. of A.
In the U.S. of A.
America.
Get that blood flowing, because ultimately that that is what makes the world go round. And in this case, without it right now, it's having an inverse relationship of success.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's crazy about it. Which brings us to our next point. We can talk about new properties. Graph right there. It's what you would expect. You're seeing a downward slope right now. with that decrease in inventory. Now, granted, at this point of the year, it's mainly due to the fact that we're pushing into winter, and just generally speaking, you see less properties at the market. Now, granted, moving into February now and into spring eventually, you're just going to see a boom. You're going to see new listings, but for every one listing, at this point, for every one new listing, 2 leave the market. Okay?
I was going to say, yeah.
So,
if not more.
Exactly. So moving on to the next one, the average sale price at this point, just watch it ascend at that point. Now you do see a slight drop off going into the most recent time of January 2021. And again, it's that same reasoning. You're moving into the winter months and into the new year. At this point, the market just generally slows down just a smidgen, moving itself into January and then eventually February and, like I said, spring. Moving on, next one. You're looking at a trend that we addressed in the last episode that I can't talk about enough, the list to selling ratio. For crying out loud, again, 2 lines in this one. You've got a darker one, and actually I don't know what this looks like in color, but generally speaking, you have a sold price being just beneath your list price, and that continues all the way from February of 2018 up until late 2020.
And this is even this is just recent within 2-3 years. I
Yes.
mean, this is across real estate as a whole, in its whole life. It's just more average to see the selling price of a property going for underneath list price.
And that's just because of negotiations. You find something in inspections that you drop your offer on and things like that. And it's just the realistic side of real estate.
Exactly.
And the crazy thing is, the realistic side of real estate now is that you are on average going to get 100% of what you list your property for. And
if not more, yeah.
If not more. And that's what's crazy about it. That's just, it feels like a fantasy. It feels like one of those stock simulation things.
We can't scream it enough. When we're telling you, you need to get into real estate right now is one of the best. I mean, it is one of the craziest, if not the craziest market in the past 30 to 50 years. But you're going to be happy that you did. Seriously. Ultimately, you're going to be happy if you refinance. You're going to be happy if you sold your house. You're going to be happy that you wanted to look to buying right now. Because 10 years later, if this market, when it's not going to be if, because this will eventually come to a halt, if not steadily decline for a little bit. We don't know when, but it won't continue like this forever. And when it doesn't, if you got started right now, or you were refinancing, you were selling, you were buying right now, you're going to thank yourself for it.
You will, 100%. Even if, and that's the thing, you don't have to buy a new home. You don't have to sell your current home. Do we recommend it? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
But at the very least, take advantage of the interest rates and refinance.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Seriously.
Do a cash out refi. Get in touch with one of our lenders.
Be good to yourself.
Yes.
Be good to yourself.
Treat yourself, all right?
Yeah, seriously.
And I mean, it doesn't get much simpler than that. It's down to earth, bare bone economics. But moving on, next one you're looking at average asking to sold to unsold price. Feel free to dive into that at your own discretion. We're going to move on to the next one, the properties for sale, right there, okay? So this trend shows you what? You're looking at what price range to the number of units for every price range. I just repeated myself, but whatever. So what's the biggest thing you notice here? The most properties that are for sale currently in St. Charles County that are condos or townhomes are going to be in the $300,000 to $500,000 price range, okay? But at the same time, for every property that's in that price range, you make up for it in that 100 to 300 price range, which is where that average sale price falls at this point. So, I mean, and then it's crazy because you have that humongous drop off the second you hit that 500,000 mark, and there's nothing above $1 million, which pretty crazy for
$1 million condo.
Yeah, I was gonna say $1 million condo.
It's stretching it a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, they exist. But
they do exist.
They exist.
They do exist.
They do exist. But we were talking about last week, when you see that just the average price of what a home is being worth and being valued at in 1 year is consistently more so than what it was than what you're saying.
What?
You talking to yourself? But it's just consistently more than what it was valued at. We're talking almost what we were saying, 3 to 5 years of data is happening in a year.
Yeah.
So it's going from 200,000 to 300,000 with residential homes as being what the average house was in. Now we're pushing that like 300 to 500, almost like we were talking about in residentials. $500,000 within our company is considered luxury, and $300,000 to $500,000 homes are more frequent than they were a year ago. We're seeing roughly the same type of thing happening here, just transitioning with condos and townhomes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
nutty. So
you need to be a part of this market.
Can we get like a drinking game going on for every time we say
every
you
time
need
we
to,
every time yeah.
Every time we say you need to get into them, you'd be hammered by the end of the video. No transition out of that. So moving on, next one. Average sale price per square foot. Feel free to dig into that at your own discretion. And now the fun one. Monthly supply of inventory, ladies and gentlemen. You're looking at, you guessed it, lower inventory than you could possibly imagine. Actually, lower inventory than you've seen up. I mean, the most recent example of that is probably, late summer of 2018 from the looks of it. But other than that, I mean, it's ludicrous. You're down to just over a month of inventory, for crying out loud. But at that, we'll see how the spring takes us this year. I think this spring will probably be the most surprising thing that we will experience in our time in real estate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, like we talked about last week with the residential sales homes, this is in retrospect of saying, okay, we have 70 properties, we have 70 condos and townhomes on the market for sale. It would take us, judging by this month's supply of inventory, 1 month to go through all of those, and then we would be SOL for
all inventory gone.
All inventory gone.
That
We would be
really
running
cool
around like a chicken with its head cut off, because we're not going to know when the next person is going to want to list their home, because it's just so rare. It's so frequently rare right now. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're seeing. And on average, what is in a good, like when I say a good stable economy, I'm not saying we're in a bad economy. I'm just saying what is on average a stable month supply of inventory is like 5-6. Mm-hmm. It would take us 5 to 6 months. So half a year to sell all of condos. It would take half a year to sell all of our residential properties in order to have like the most stable one buyer for one home that's selling type of market. But right now, with as many people that are buying and is not as many people that are selling, it would take 1 month to go through that with how aggressive every buyer is out there.
And that's assuming the trend doesn't increase at this point.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, at this point, that's what people are expecting, which is, oh my god. So, moving on to the next one, you're looking at the average sale price and average days on market comparison. Feel free to dig in that at your own discretion. And then last but certainly not least, month supply of inventory. Again, feel free to dig into this one at your own discretion. There's a lot going on with this. Now, similar to our residential single-family homes, we want to go ahead and actually dig into general comparisons and put this into an example, if you would. So what we're going to assess is the average sale price to the increase in average sale price over a year from 2020 to 2021. Again, digging into it, you're looking at back in 2020 in January, the average sale price for a townhome or condo was $140,954. Okay. Now, the general increase in average sale price from 2020 to 2021 was that 10.23% number that we addressed. So, if you were to look at it and assess it, and again, a list to sell value of a perfect 100%, you're looking at an increase in almost $15,000 in value over the course of a year. Again, so in last week's episode, we talked about renting it out this and doing this, that. On average, you don't see people buy townhomes and condos and rent them out as frequently as you see residential family homes. Now, does it happen? Absolutely.
Yes.
Which, if you were to use that similar number, the average rent in St. Charles being $1,000, you're looking at $12,000 more put onto that. So you're looking at $27,000 in a year that you would have made, okay? That's half the average American salary that you would have made by buying something, renting it out, and then selling it. Okay?
1 year later.
1 year, precisely. Okay?
Not 2, 3. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. But, I mean, it doesn't get much more blatant than that. I mean, take another shot, because we're going to say it. It's the time to get into real estate, ladies and gentlemen, for crying out loud. And if you've made it to this far and you're not hammered from our drinking game that we just made up,
we need to continuously say it, because you do want to be in this you do want to be in this market, and these statistics show. And speaking of these statistics, if you'd like to get your hands on some of these, like we were talking about in the last episode, feel free.
Plug.
Let us know in the comments. Yeah, shameless plug. But we do want to help you. We seriously want to help you. That's why we're here. That's why we come back every single week. Exactly. That's why we give you the Trident Stat Show. It's because we want you to be updated so that you can know the statistics and be able to go, I know my market, I know what I can get for my property, I know my market, I know what a property is worth. So whether you're selling it and you want to know what you can get for your property, or whether you want to buy and you want to know what maybe, average condos and townhomes are going for, you want to know your specific property, let us know, because we can definitely hook you up with a market report, and it's absolutely free. And it's not just tailored to St. Charles County as well.
It can be tailored to your property specifically, for crying out loud.
Yeah, your property in Washington, your property in Oregon, wherever it is, we have connections everywhere, and we can definitely get you that, because our MLS system goes throughout the United States, which is fantastic. So we can get your property specifically down to a T, or a neighborhood, or even like a whole city county type of thing.
It's crazy.
So let us know definitely in the comments section. Follow us on our socials so that you never miss another one of these, because you need to be a part of these. we're trying to help you so much. You should definitely be a part of these, because you're going to be doing yourself a favor.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, knowledge is power, and this is very powerful knowledge to have.
That's what Spider-Man says.
Does he? Knowledge.
No, he says with great power comes great responsibility.
Does he?
Yes, sir.
Pause.
When Uncle Ben dies. Spoiler alert. Let us know your favorite DC character in the comment. I'm going to get ripped apart.
You're
in
going
the
to be
comments
annihilated.
section. But we all know who'd win. It doesn't matter who's versing Marvel, DC.
Leave in your
Goku.
leave in the comments, who do you think would win a fight, Goku or Superman?
Only right answers.
And why would it be Superman? My name's Michael Murphy, and I'm joined by
Josh Killian.
And this has been the Trident Stat.